Hello and welcome to the Open SAP course Data Migration to SAP S/4HANA. My name is Kim Mattes and you might know me from previous Open SAP courses around S/4HANA or even migration. And just as a quick heads up from an administrative perspective, I know from your feedback that I can talk pretty fast sometimes, like I probably do now. And you can slow me down a bit using the video controls just beneath the video in case you need to do that. A quick overview, as you probably know from the course description, this will be a 2 weeks course. The first one on a brief overview on migration, as well as information to the SAP S/4HANA Migration Cockpit, which is the new tool coming with S/4HANA. And the second week will be about how to create your own content and how to enhance your migration project with additional features. Now let's start with the first unit, which will be an introduction to data migration, just to know what we talk about, and if we use different kind of terminologies, that you know what we mean with it and what it is behind. I would start with sort of a definition of data migration, because if you just read migration, lots of people might understand lots of different things. For example, a system migration or a database migration. Now, as you see here, I start with a quick definition based on Wikipedia, which says data migration is the process of transferring data between computer storage types or file formats, and it is a key consideration for any system implementation, upgrade or consolidation. I think that's pretty forward. So we're moving data from one system to another, as an example. What is important is the second part, which I highlighted below, that data migration is usually performed programmatically to achieve an automated migration, freeing up human resources from tedious tasks. This is a new sentence. If you looked at older definitions, you might not have seen that one. But honestly, I think that is very true, because the alternative to an automated data migration would be you have to type in the data manually all the time. And of course, no one's want to do that, specifically if we talk about thousands of data records. However, as you see on the very bottom, the goal of a data migration project is not simply to move basically or transform data from left to right. It's actually to ensure that the data is of high quality. It fits your processes. It fits your needs of, for example, the new system. Good old sample sentence would be garbage in, garbage out. This is what we would like to prevent. And specifically on data quality, we're going to talk about in the second week. Now, I just want to start with the transition scenarios again. You probably have seen this slide if you have attended, I would say, any other Open SAP course regarding S/4HANA, because these three transition scenarios are basically in the market since 2 or 3 years, since the first release. The first one, system conversion. That means you have an existing SAP ERP system and you convert it into an S/4HANA. High level, I would say, data stays inside the system. It might be moved from old table structures to new table structures, but technically for me that's not really a data migration. The data never leaves the system. Second one, new implementation. This is exactly what we're talking about. Here we mean we start with a fresh system, a fresh target. Greenfield approach is often the terminology that is used, where we could have a new on-prem system or an SAP S/4HANA cloud system as the new target. Data coming from an ERP or from a non-ERP system. And last but not least, the third one is called landscape transformation. This is a bit of a specific scenario which can also be combined with one of the two others. It's basically larger harmonization projects. For example, you have several ERP systems and you want to merge them into one S/4HANA system. This would be one of the landscape transformation topics. But just to be clear again, here we talk about new implementation when we talk about data migration. So this course here will focus on the new implementation part. Here just a quick slide, what we mean when we talk about cloud or software as a service on the very right-hand side. Often it's a bit tricky with private options, public options, what is really delivered as a service and compare it with on-premise. So on this slide, just a very quick overview where you see on the very left, on-premise. Example, S/4HANA on-premise. Here you see that you could manage basically every layer that you have on the left-hand side. The next step, infrastructure as a service. An SAP example, although not 100% correct, because even there you have different options, but just for the sake to keep it easy, SAP HANA Enterprise Cloud, SAP HEC. This is something I would consider as infrastructure as a service. a bit like hosting environments. So the vendor would basically take care of, for example, server and storage, and you would take care still of application, data, runtime, etc. The third one, platform as a service. An example could be, as you maybe heard of it, SAP Cloud Platform, which you can connect to S/4HANA Cloud or even S/4HANA on-premise or other solutions, where you just take care of applications and data, like apps on top of SAP Cloud Platform. The rest basically is handled by the vendor. And then on the far right, this would be an example for S/4HANA Cloud. Sometimes you read public cloud. This is really software as a service where you just have your link to log on and everything is basically taken care of for you. So just that you know, when we talk in this course about on-prem and S/4HANA Cloud, that we normally talk about the two extremes on the left and on the right. Now, let's get back to data migration itself and the challenges. And here's a nice sentence. This is from 2016, however, it's still very valid, where it says that CIOs and information management leaders face significant challenges with initiatives that require high complexity data migrations. So key best practices, and best practice is a good word because later on I show you best practices content for it, that will minimize the risk, cost and time for data migration. Now here, the problems we normally see in projects. More than 80% of data migration projects run over time and or over budget. Cost overruns 30% average. Time overruns average 41%. It's probably not the goal of this course to explain you why that happens, but just very quick overview. If you as a customer, for example, would like to do it on your own, and if we talk about the greenfield implementation, how fit is basically the IT department? Because honestly, large and complex migrations are rarely done on a regular basis. Depending on the size of the IT department, if it's rather big, they might have experience with migrating data from left to right, but even then, it's probably not the experience of how to do complex project management for migration, cut-over planning, data cleansing, deduplication, all these topics you might have to consider. Yeah? So this is where basically partners can help you, for example, or a very proper tool set. Yeah? A tool set that supports you with all the different pieces you have to consider in a migration project. This is exactly what this course is about. Now, second statement, 80% of organizations will underestimate the costs and the tasks by average of 50%. That happens because data migration is rarely considered at the very beginning of a project. Normally you start with, process design, maybe blueprinting, or in the cloud we say fit to standard. You go through the processes. At one point in time, someone might say, oh, by the way, how do we get the data into the system? And the further down the road that question occurs, the worse for data migration. So of course you would like to start it very early in the process. Consider it as soon as possible. Okay, what are our sources and how do we get the data from A to B? And the third one is 50 to 70% of ERP implementations are reported as challenged, in part to data integrity or data accuracy. That's exactly the point. Does data, for example, coming from a non-SAP system, fit to my new target environment? Probably not. And this is also where tools can help you. This is something where you would like to test your migration several times. Also talking about timeline, that you would like to start with your migration activities early, that you can test early and even fail early. You want to see data issues very, very soon in the project, that you never endanger go live dates due to data migration issues. That should really never happen. You want it as easy as possible. Now, you often see or hear the term ETL if we talk about data migration. That actually means extract, transform and load. In high level, these are the three areas you consider when selecting your project type, tool type, etc. So how do we get data out of the source system? Basically, will we just do a data dump, getting files out of it? Or do we have a tool that can connect to the source and pull the data that we need, that we don't have to dump everything? Because maybe like change documents, you don't migrate, you never need it, why would you dump the complete database for it? Transform, very important. Again, example, non-SAP source to an SAP source. You have to consider, for example, mapping of tables. Maybe a business partner consists of 3 or 4 tables in one system and 5, 6 10 tables in the target environment? Do you have more information in the target? How do you map the table structures? Then, of course, we talk about fields. Like, do you have street and house number in one field, but in the target it's 2? You have to split it if you want to, or if you have to, maybe technically. And then we talk about value mapping, where in a source environment, it could be that you have a string or text, for example, for country, like Germany or United States. But in the target environment, you have a code for it, like an ISO code in SAP, where Germany is DE or United States is US. So you want to do that value mapping before you load it into the target. So these are the things you have to consider. And then, of course, on the load side, there's always the question, can I load everything? Are the APIs ready that I can put the data into, which then populates all my target tables for me? So just to give you a bit of an idea what ETL means and what are the different steps in an ETL process. Now here, just a quick overview on the SAP environment. You see on the left-hand side just a quick example of various data sources you could encounter in an SAP migration project, for example. Most likely, just even taking a look at non-SAP sources, on the very bottom, files, unstructured texts, or even just a connection to directly a database, basically here. Then, tool set. Ideally, you have an easy-to-use UI. You don't want to reinvent everything. Specifically, if you're not familiar with data migration on a daily basis, you want to have an easy UI that guides you through the process. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. And then you see you have ETL, extract, transform, load, data quality topics, profiling is something that tells me, just looking at the data, automatically of course, where I can see, oh, there might be a data quality issue. Deduplication, if I have data from different source systems, maybe both of them contain the same material master record, but of course you would like only to load one in the new target environment. So how do I find the so-called golden record, the best record, or even merge them? And of course, anything around analytics. You always want to know how long did the migration run take, for example, for a certain object. For your cutover planning, it took us an hour to load 500,000 business partners, for example. This is something you would like to measure, and of course, automatically created by the tool, that you don't have to sit there with your stopwatch. And then on the target environment, of course, you can load it into various target environments. Here, of course, we would like to focus on SAP S4HANA and SAP S4HANA Cloud. That's just to give you a bit of an idea on the SAP environment. Now, we're always coming to an end for the first unit. Just to give you, a quick introduction, I would like to show you where you can find more information. Because often, when you start such an Open SAP course, you might see, okay, where can I find more? Is still data migration, greenfield, new implementation, is this what I'm going for? Then I would like to show you directly here in the browser how it looks like. So this is the first one. This is basically the intro page for SAP S4HANA. You see here all the information on S4HANA. If this is something you are still considering, where you say, okay, where can we find information? Some customer testimonials. Here, this is also very interesting, SAP S4HANA in 2 minutes. Can also recommend this one. And here in the very bottom, also transition to SAP S4HANA. So if you still would like to make up your mind, okay, is it new implementation? Is it data migration? What is it actually for me? You can always go here. I go to learn more. Just wait a second. As you see here, there's a complete overview on the different transition scenarios and a very, very comprehensive overview video on the 3 scenarios. And also, what do we mean with the best practices, methodology, SAP Activate, for example. I will tell you in the next unit about that one, and what guided configuration means. So very, very good intro point to get your way around the different transition scenarios. Then, if you want to do like a hands-on look and feel, I have here 2 more links, trial systems for S4HANA Cloud and for SAP S4HANA on-premise. And just as a heads up, in the exercise that we will present to you later on in that course, you will also use one of those hosted systems for your migration exercise. Now let me just give you one quick overview here. If we go to S4HANA Cloud Trial, you see you can just click Start Your Free Trial here. That's basically a 2-week trial for free, where you can take a look and feel how S4HANA Cloud, for example, as a software as a service solution, actually behaves. Actually, we get a lot of requests for this from customers and partners who would like to take a look about the what is really behind S/4HANA Cloud. They know maybe the on-premise side, but this is what they're interested in. So the on-prem side is basically the same, so I won't show you this one. But here, two important things as well. Community. Very good. You might know from the old SCN days or from SAP blogs. This is something I can also recommend, which is a community where lots of experts provide additional content, additional expertise. And even here you see, prepare your journey when you want to start with it very early. Explore the paths, again, transition scenarios at a glance. And here even specifics, for example, for new implementation. Yeah, and here's a block. This is also what you see already. Migration cockpit. This is what the next units will be on week 1, where you can find more information that we're going to show here in the Open SAP course. And then, of course, last but not least, your path to SAP S/4HANA. This is if you need, like, you could say, a glossy brochure, if you want to still show to someone what really are the possibilities, if you would like to go to SAP S/4HANA. You have here a nice flipbook, basically providing additional information and insight. And let me just quickly go forward to the transition scenarios, which will show up in a second, where you can see the different areas and also a bit more information on new implementation, on system conversion, or on LT, landscape transformation scenarios. And with this, I would conduct and close the first unit, and I hope to see you now in Unit 2 as well, where I give you a lot more details on the new tools like the Migration Cockpit. Thank you very much.